Welcome back to HS Concepts. I'm your host, Ryan, and today I'm throwing my hat in the ring to disrupt EHS, safety, risk, and all the norms associated therein. And it may even be a whisper in the dark or the very first drop of water in a waterfall. Yet a journey always starts with the first step. Let's get into it as I launch a new way forward in EHS, environmental health and safety. So let's cut the crap right out of the gate. If your safety program feels like a necessary evil, a box to check so OSHA doesn't camp in your parking lot, you're doing it wrong. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, turned EHS warrior, if you will, who spent over 2 decades watching perfectly good companies bleed cash, morale, and sometimes actual blood because safety was treated like an afterthought. I wrote my first book, Integrated Safety Excellence, a Lean Approach, to show how stripping waste from safety processes turns into a profit engine. Also needed to get the executives on board, and that's what it was written for. The second, EHS Concepts, The Ways of Safety, here's this podcast, dove deeper into the Systemic Safety Integration module, SIM, something I've developed, putting humans and data at the center of proactive excellence. This manual, it's the hands-on field guide to making SIM real. At its core is the Nexus, the dynamic radar that converges 6 pillars into daily action. No fluff, no theory-only chapters, just the tools, playbook, and proof to command that zero harm in your world. Whether you're on a high-rise scaffold, a rolling ship, or a humming factory floor, if you're ready to stop managing safety and start owning it, keep listening, because your people deserve it. And honestly, so do you. So why the Nexus? And why did I bring it into existence? Well, most safety programs are linear, siloed, and very reactive. Overreactive, pretty much. They wait for something to break, bleed, or burn. Then they add another rule, another audit, another PowerPoint that nobody remembers by the next Friday, right? The SIM Nexus is different. It's circular, systemic, and relentlessly proactive. It's 6 proven pillars constantly pull against each other through daily scoring and immediate correction. Hazards die in the planning stage instead of the emergency room. I built this because I was tired of good people getting hurt for very preventable reasons. Many years spent in the Navy on decks, many years spent on shop floors, many years in construction sites. It taught me one truth. When safety is treated as an add-on, it fails. When it's the operating system, everything else, productivity, quality, morale, gets better. It just does. But to understand why the Nexus is necessary, we have to talk about what's wrong with the old guard, the hierarchy of controls. This model has been the cornerstone of safety thinking for decades. But it's time to retire it. Let's break down its history, its flaws, and why SIM replaces it with something better. So, the history of the hierarchy of controls. The hierarchy of controls traces its roots back to the early 20th century, pioneered by a safety engineer, Herbert William Rinehart. In his 1931 book, Industrial Accident Prevention, Rinehart famous domino theory suggested that accidents were a chain reaction. One unsafe act or condition knocks over the next, leading to injury. His 88 to 10 to 2 ratio claimed 88% of accidents were caused by unsafe acts, 10% by unsafe conditions, and only 2% were unavoidable. The takeaway: focus on worker behavior and remove dominoes early. Then Frank E. Bird Jr. expanded this in the 1960s and 70s with his updated incident ratio, the famous Bird triangle. 1 serious injury, 10 minor, 30 property damage, 600 near misses. So Bird shifted that emphasis toward managing loss and investigating the base of the pyramid to prevent the top. Now this evolved into the modern hierarchy of controls, formalized by NIOSH and widely adopted by OSHA. A pyramid ranking interventions from most to least effective: elimination, substitution, engineering controls, admin controls, and PPE. Now, for its era, it was groundbreaking. It moved safety from blaming the worker to designing out hazards. It saved countless lives by pushing companies to engineer risk away rather than just train around them. Let's avoid that. So do this instead. So here's the downfall of the hierarchy. And it's a hard truth. The hierarchy is outdated and insufficient for today's complex, fast-moving workplaces. First, it's static and linear. It presents a rigid do this first, then that order. But real life rarely allows perfect elimination. In construction, you can't eliminate height. In maritime, you can't eliminate the ocean. The model doesn't guide how to blend controls effectively when pure elimination isn't possible. Second, it's built on lagging reactive thinking. Heinrich and Bird's pyramids rely on counting incidents after they happen to predict future ones. Those famous ratios, the 30 to 29 to 1, or the 600 to 30 to 10 to 1, have been debunked by modern data. They vary widely by industry, company culture, and reporting maturity. Focusing on the base assumes accurate near-miss reporting, but underreporting is epidemic because people fear blame. Third, it largely ignores human factors, culture, and leadership. Heinrich's 88% unsafe acts pin most blame on workers. Even Bird's updates didn't fully address systemic drift, how good controls erode over time to production pressure, fatigue, or poor communication. Now, fourth one, it hasn't evolved with technology or modern work. There's no place for predictive analytics, wearables, AI, fatigue monitoring, or real-time data integration. PPE is still the least effective bottom rung, but in reality, smart tech can make administrative controls proactive and powerful. Finally, it's a pyramid, hierarchical and isolated. It doesn't force integration across departments or daily accountability. The controls get implemented once and forgotten until the next incident. And you know what the results are? Companies with beautiful hierarchy posters still have incidents because the model doesn't prevent drift. It just ranks fixes after the fact. So, what the SSIM Nexus is, the Systemic Safety Integration Module, and the Nexus, it's the evolution we've needed. At its core, SIM is a dynamic circular framework that integrates safety into the DNA of operations. Instead of a pyramid, picture, and I'll put it up here, a chart with 6 interlocking pillars converging at a central nexus. The daily scoring and correction hub. The Nexus is the living engine, a simple radar tool. You can use it as a card, you can have it as a card or an app, where teams score the 6 pillars every shift in 60 seconds. Scores below target trigger immediate they scores below 60 scores below target trigger immediate fixes. This constant tension keeps the system alive and aligned. There's no pillar drifts without pulling the others. So SIM expands outward in 4 integration rings. That zero harm core that we're all looking for. Sustainability layer. You have ops, quality, maintenance hub, and a metric engine that proves return of investment. Unlike the hierarchy, SIM is proactive. Daily checks prevent incidents. Systemic, everything connects. Human-centered, culture and competence are pillars. And it's adaptive. Tech and learning evolve it. Measurable, leading indicators drive behavior. Replace the dusty pyramid poster with a live Nexus radar in the break room, and you're going to go from reacting to incidents to actually commanding that zero harm. That's why the Nexus exists. To finally move safety from hope it doesn't happen today to we make damn sure it doesn't. Let's do a deep dive on my 6 pillars that I developed with this system. So the Nexus is not smoke and mirrors. It's not. It is 6 interlocking pillars, axes on the radar chart that hold everything up, which each one is battle tested, non-negotiable, and designed to pull against the others so nothing drifts. It's always course correcting itself. It's great. Think of them as the spokes on a wheel. If one weakens, the whole thing wobbles. Now, the daily radar scoring is what keeps the tension tight. You miss a day, and you're hoping for safety. Score and fix every day, and you're commanding it. So, again, let's do that deep dive. On each pillar, what it really means, why it matters, how it fails when ignored, and exactly how to make it stick. Number 1, you gotta have leadership commitment, and accountability. This is the make or break pillar because everything else collapses without it. Leadership isn't about speeches at Safety Week or signing the policy. No, it's about showing up where the work happens, asking hard questions, and fixing dumb stuff on the spot. But without acting like a jerk when someone points out, here's a problem. So, what it looks like in practice, daily presence. Every leader, and this is every leader, spends a minimum of 30 minutes on the floor, site, Gemba style. No clipboard parades, just real conversation. You can ask things like, what's the dumbest thing we're making you do today? Personal ownership. Every leader has safety KPIs on their scorecard, the same weight as production or quality. 0 unresolved reds on the radar, bonus intact. Chronic reds, have a tough conversation. I like having the lunch rule. If the daily radar shows red in any pillar, leadership buys lunch for the crew. I've watched plant managers age 10 years in a week when this rule first hits. Then they grin like kids when the radar stays green and they stop paying for the pizza parties. I'm going to tell you why it fails when ignored. Because I've seen $1 million engineering controls gather dust because the supervisor felt production pressure from above. Happens all the time. You know this, I know this. Leadership apathy trickles down faster than anything. When leaders treat safety as someone else's job, the crew does too. So how to make it stick? Start small. One leader, one shift, make their walk visible. Celebrate when they fix something stupid the same day. Within a month, the rest will follow or get left behind. Second pillar, risk perception and dynamic assessment. Risk isn't a static thing you assess once a year and file it away. It changes every shift. Weather, staffing, fatigue, new equipment, Jerry's hangover. This pillar is about seeing risk with fresh eyes every single day. What does that look like? A 7-minute pre-task cycle. A scripted huddle that asks, what's different? What could kill us? What controls are missing? Who fixes it before we start? You can even have bow tie visuals. Just simple one-page diagrams for every major job. Threats on the left, consequences on the right, controls in the middle. Yeah, you can laminate it and post it where the work happens even. Have a weekly hazard hunt. Turn it into a competition. Crews get points for finding and fixing risk. Winner can get a $20 gift card. Of course, they're always going to have the bragging rights for all this, right? Why it fails when ignored? Most incidents have a dozen warning signs the day before. Static JSAs written in 2009, they don't catch them. Dynamic assessment does. Give you an example. A construction client integrated weather APIs into their morning huddle. Wind gust over 25 miles per hour, automatic reassessments of crane lifts. Those slips and falls dropped by 55% in one season alone. We're talking about the third pillar, competence. Training and human factors. People aren't the problem. Let me say that again. People aren't the problem. The system is. Humans are predictably unpredictable. So we design systems that expect error and still win. This pillar is about making sure everybody's actually good at what they do and accounting for the very human things that get in the way. You know what that looks like? Micro learning bursts. You can have 5-minute phone-based modules, just in time, right before the task. No more 8-hour death by PowerPoint. Get rid of the fatigue algorithm. Simple scoring based on hours worked, shift pattern, and biorhythms. Your score's too high? Mandatory breaks, or rotations, or even lighter duties. Peer-to-peer verification. Before high-risk tasks, lockout, blind space, 2 people signed a card. I checked, you checked, we're good. Simple. Why it fails when ignored? He's experienced. That's not a training plan. I've watched veterans make rookie mistakes after 36-hour weeks. Human factors don't care about tenure. They don't. A maritime client cut human error incidents by 45% by pairing fatigue scoring with peer verification on mooring operations. Simple, cheap, life-saving. Leaves me to pillar number 4. Communication and worker engagements. Policies don't save lives. People do. This pillar makes safety belong to the crew, not just the safety department. And what this looks like is safety champions, 8 to 12 per 100 employees. Pick the real influencers, the quiet ones everyone listens to. Give them a tool title, Guardians of Not Dying, or zero paperwork influencers, whatever. Their job is to notice, fix, and brag. Have that stop work authority where anyone can stop anything, anytime, no questions asked, and we celebrate it. Make a wall of heroes. Put a photo on the wall of heroes. Make a story at the next huddle. Do a daily 60-second shout out. End every shift with one person getting public props. Shout out to Miguel for catching that leaking airline before it whipped someone. Again, why does it fail when ignored? Right? Talking about the axis. Top-down communication creates compliance, not commitment. When people don't feel heard, they stop speaking up. The near miss, near hit reporting flatlines. And the next miss isn't near. I'll give me an example. An automotive supplier went from 40 reported hazards a year to 1,400 after Champions took over. They fixed 1,387 before anyone got hurt. Which leads me to the fifth pillar, technology and resource integration. Technology isn't about being fancy. It's about giving people superpowers to see and stop risks they couldn't before. What does that look like? Well, there are wearables and geofencing. You get buzzed for bad posture or actually entering hot zones. Auto kill forklifts and pedestrian areas. One of those things. Guard monitoring. The Internet of Things, IoT. Sensor screen when guards are removed or defeated. One of those things. Easy. 12-second mobile reporting. A QR code on equipment that gives you a scan, a drop down, a photo, and then send it. Which is easy. A big screen dashboard like the Nexus radar in a break room. Green for the week. Crew picks the music. Again, why does this fail when ignored? Good tools sitting in a closet are worthless. I've seen those $200 sensors prevent $400,000 surgeries. So resources must be right. They must be working. And they must be where people need them. Here's an example. A steel mill installed guardrail impact sensors. The first month, 127 alerts. Leadership fixed them all. Year 2, 0 impacts. It's simple. This whole methodology is simple. So let's get into 6. Near and dear to me. Continuous improvement and learning systems. Every near miss, every close call, every that was dumb moment, that's pure gold if you learn from it. This pillar turns learning into muscle memory. What it looks like is doing a 72-hour after action review. Quick, no blame sessions. What almost bit us and why? What one thing do we change tomorrow? Then do this monthly. A Nexus 90-day celebrations. When average scores hits 90 plus, throw a party. Make it legendary. I know I'll put it on the screen so you understand this calculation. But learning teams. Cross-functional groups that own fixes and feed them back into the other pillars just works. And when it fails, it fails when this gets ignored. The companies that investigate only recordables learn too late. Those that investigate near misses learn cheap. Give you an example. A refinery turned 72-hour reviews into standing agenda items. Severe risk days dropped 84% in 1 year. Let me explain this Nexus like you're playing an open world RPG game called Safety Excellence Online. A brutal, realistic game where the stakes are real, real lives actually. And the final boss is preventable incidents. Your character, you, the safety leader or the crew, starts with a basic build, right? But every day, every shift, every decision earns you skill points to invest across the 6 core traits, the pillars of the Nexus. These 6 traits are arranged on a hexagonal radar chart. Your character's overall skill map. The bigger and more balanced the hexagon, the stronger your character, the higher your level, and the less damage the game world can throw at you. Picking up one up and down? Yeah. So here's how the chart in the image represents your character build. So I'll have that posted up to one of the sides here. The 6 traits, the axis, is how you level up. 1, leadership, right? Should be at the top. That point here makes your character inspire the party, enforces the rules, and show up in tough zones. And point 2, culture. The vibe of your whole guild. How much your teammates trust, speak up, and have each other's back. The third point, learning. How fast your character levels up from near misses and turns lessons into permanent buffs. Okay? And the fourth point, risk. Your perception and preemptive strike ability. Spotting those traps and debuffs before they trigger. Okay? And then the fifth point is behaviors. Those day-to-day habits and actions of the entire party. The safe moves, the stop work authority, and the peer checks. And then your sixth point is your systems. Your gear, your tech and tools, your wearables, sensors, the apps, and the resources that give you passive bonuses. So the 2 builds shown. You have the red small hexagon. It's centered, if you will see it, centered. That's reactive, the traditional approach. This is the default noob build most players start with. Low points across the board, a tiny, unbalanced hexagon. And the result? Weak character, constantly taking damage, incidences, always reacting after the hit, grinding through audits and paperwork. It is some survival mode only. Okay? So then look at the large teal hexagon, the outer one. Proactive excellence. That's the sim goal. This is the max level. It helps you. This build helps you unlock, by consistently investing those skill points every shift using this Nexus system. High balance scores, those at the 90 to 100 range, in all six traits. That means it's massive. A perfectly shaped hexagon. Result, God mode character. Hazards barely scratch you. You prevent bosses from even spawning. Massive buffs to productivity, morale, and of course return on investment. You dominate the leaderboard. Zero harm, high uptime. How you earn and allocate points every shift? Daily play session. Every day you run the Nexus Radar Huddle, you're essentially opening the skill tree menu and allocating earn points based on real performance. Gamify safety, right? Leaders showed up and fixed something. That's more points on the leadership point axis. Crew spoke up and stopped dumb stuff. Well, that's points to the culture and behaviors. You caught and killed a hazard early. That's points to risk and learning, right? If your tech and tools were ready and used, that's points to the system, right? So you're just building that chart out. So the radar chart visually updates in real time, kind of like your character stat screen. Red means you're underleveled in that trait and very vulnerable. Green, well, that means that trait is maxed and giving you powerful passive protection. Now, the goal of the entire game, grow that tiny red noob hexagon into the massive teal god tier hexagon. so when you do, the game stops throwing incidents at you and starts giving you epic loot, lower cost, higher morale, that zero lost time, and the best reward of all. Everybody goes home whole. Now, that's the SSIM Nexus radar chart in a nutshell. It's your live character sheet, and the only game where leveling up actually saves lives. Now, use this knowledge. Go earn some points today, player. Your crew is counting on you to build that perfect hexagon. But serious note, though, these 6 pillars aren't operational add-ons. They are the load-bearing structure. The Nexus radar is what keeps them aligned every single day. So let's talk about the Nexus radar and how it actually works. I know it's going to be a long video. Hey, you're here to listen, maybe? I don't know. So you got the 6 pillars. Now here's the engine that keeps them alive and pulling together every single day. And that's that Nexus radar. The radar isn't a fancy dashboard metric nobody looks at. It's brutally simple tool. You can have a laminated card, whiteboard. You can put it on a phone app. It forces every team to score the 6 pillars in about 60 seconds. Every shift. A minute in every shift. Think about it. So low score, automatic escalation, and same shift fix. High score, bragging rights and momentum. It's the daily tension that turns good intentions into unbreakable habits. You miss it for a week, drift creeps in. Do it religiously, and you'll watch your culture transform from hope we don't get hurt to we got this. So here's exactly how it works. Step by step, with zero theory fluff. The tool itself, front and back. Every supervisor, foreman, lead, safety champion carries one. You got to print these double-sided. Laminate them. Done. Okay? The front side, the 6 questions. Now, these are the exact scoring prompts. Read them out loud in the huddle. Everyone scores mentally. Then one person calls the average for use thumbs up and down for quick consensus. Takes 60 seconds once you're rolling. The first prompt is your leadership commitment. Did leaders show up today and ask good questions and actually fix something that was dumb? 0 to 100. The second one, risk perception and dynamic assessment. Did we look at today's work with fresh eyes? The weather, staffing, fatigue, any of those changes? Or did we just copy yesterday's plan? Again, simple. Competence. The training and factors. Is everyone who touched this task actually competent? Or at least paired with someone who is? No prayers or pretty sure allowed? Again, 0 to 100. Where you at? The fourth one, communication and worker engagement. Did we talk with the crew today? Listen more than lecture, or just talk at them? Did someone other than the safety guy do most of the talking? Again, quick range 0 to 100. Mentally taken, right? Everybody votes. The fifth one, technology and resource integration. Did we have the right tools, PPE, and tech in working order? Where we needed them, when we needed them. 0 to 100. Then 6, continuous improvement in learning systems. Did we catch at least one thing today that almost bit us and fixed it before it did? Or did we, once again, pretend everything was perfect? Okay? Now, the back side of the card, the radar chart. A blank hexagon with those 6 pillars labeled at each point. After scoring, draw and connect the dots. 90 to 100 on every pillar. Perfect circle. That is the green heaven, right? Anything that's between 85 and 90 is the yellow. Watch it. Below 85 is red. Automatic trigger. Red means owner assigned immediately. Fixed scheduled before shift ends. Okay? Or leadership needs to explain why not and buys lunch. Okay? Follow up verified next huddle. How the radar flows in a real day. So the morning huddle, 5 minutes max. You run the 6 questions. You can plot yesterday's radar. That's your accountability. That's where you were yesterday. Here's your score. Here's today. Okay? Quick discussion on any reds. Who owns closing that day? You can do a pre-task risk cycle. Here's a 7-minute script for you. Go to work, end of shift tailgate, 3 to 5 minutes. One person rotates. Hey, here's what we learned today. You can do a quick rescore if big fixes happen. Give a 60-second shout out for someone who stopped dumb stuff. It's not hard. Weekly leadership walk. Leaders carry that card themselves. They score independently. Okay? Independently from the crew. Now you compare the crew scores, see if there's a gap. Because there's a gap, more than 15 points, that's a leadership problem, not a crew problem. Anything red gets fixed before weekend. Orange donuts Monday morning, okay? So have a monthly roll up. Average all those scores across the shifts, the teams. I like a big screen dashboard in the break room. Shows trend lines or in, the job trailer. Hit 90 plus average for 30 days. Man, it is party time. Okay? Reward it. Now, why the radar is brutally effective? It's fast. It's 60 seconds. And it beats 30-page audits. It's daily. Drift can't hide for long. It's visually. A wobbly hexagon screams louder than any TIIR report. It does. It's democratic. Crew and leadership score the same questions. Gaps expose blind spots. It forces action. Red equals consequences. The whole lunch rule or celebration. The green streak. I've watched plants go from chronic 72 averages, constant reds, constant firefighting for the fixes, to steady 94s in 4 months. Near miss reporting triples. That's a good thing. Actual incidents plummet, and the crew starts policing the radar themselves. Now, common pitfalls and fixes. We're too busy for this. Start with 3 questions. Add 1 per week. Busy is a code word for we're okay with the risk. We're okay with risking lives. So let's game the scores. Leadership scores independently and compares. The gaps trigger real conversation. Now, app versus card. Cards for small field teams, right? Construction, maritime. Apps are for the large sites, the manufacturing sites. Both feed the same dashboard, though. The radar isn't extra work. It's the filter that removes the real waste. Preventable pain. If you master this, and you've got the daily heartbeat of the entire Nexus. So let's talk about the 4 rings, because the 4 rings scale across the whole organization. So 6 pillars. Now we're talking about the 4 rings. The 4 ring integration rings. Okay, the 4 integration rings. So as the Nexus radar keeps the 6 pillars tight and alive, that's what the 4 ring does. Keeps the 6 pillars tight and alive every day. But SIM doesn't stop at the shop floor or the job site. It expands outward in 4 concentric rings that tie safety to the rest of the organization and to the bigger world. Think of the radar as the engine and the rings as the transmission. They take the power from daily execution and drive it through operations, sustainability, cross-functional teams, and hard financial proof. Ignore the rings, and your Nexus stays a safety thing. Good, but isolated. You build the rings, and safety becomes the competitive advantage that touches everything. So, I'm going to deep dive on each ring, why it matters, and how to make it real. So, ring number 1, the safety core. Talk about zero harm, that non-negotiable foundation. This is the innermost ring that everything that directly prevents people from getting hurt today. What lives there? Daily behavioral observation. Positive coaching, not gotchas. True stop work authority. Anyone, anytime, and it's celebrated, not questioned. Evolved JSAs that get updated from near misses, not dusty binders. JSAs that get updated from near misses, not dusty binders. Let me say that, okay? Now, basic human factor. Safeguards like hydration stations and heat or rotation schedules for repetitive tasks. Why it matters. Well, this ring is the promise. Nobody gets hurt on my watch. And everything else builds on it. If that core wobbles, outer rings are theater. I hate that. I hate safety theater. How you can build it? Start every rollout here. Get stop work working perfectly before you touch tech or sustainability. One construction client made this ring ironclad first, and the falls dropped 62% before they even installed wearables. So talk about the second ring, the sustainability layer. That's the planet and the people. Because safety isn't just about bodies, it's about building something that lasts. Now, this ring weaves environmental and long-term resource stewardship into the nexus. So what lives there, right? Reusable PPE programs, that reduce waste and save money and fit better so people actually wear them. You got waste elimination, waste elimination projects that remove hazards by cutting landfill, better chemical storage equals fewer spills equals a safer floor. And then energy tracking that funds safety upgrades. LED lighting reduces slips and poor visibility and pays for more sensors, honestly. One of these easy things. Or even carbon metrics tied to safety return on investment. How about greener ops often mean cleaner and safer ops? And why does that matter? Younger crews are coming, and younger crews care about this. Regulators care about this, and honestly, we all should care. Plus, sustainable choices are often double as safety wins. Lighter, reusable harnesses reduce fatigue. Honestly, recycled mats reduce trips. I'll give you an example. A maritime client switched to eco-friendly non-slip deck coatings. So slips dropped 40%. That waste dropped though 70%, and the coating paid for itself in 2 years. So safety forced sustainability, and then sustainability funded more safety. The third ring is the integration hub. Ops, quality, maintenance, HR, financial. Safety in a silo is weak safety. This ring connects the nexus to every other department in real time. And what lives here? Shared dashboards. Production sees when safety reds delay. Startup. Maintenance sees hazard reports flagged as backlog. Cross-functional learning teams, ops, quality, and safety review near misses together. HR integration. Fatigue scores feed scheduling. Engagement surveys feed champion recruitment. The quality tie-in. Defects often predict safety issues. Now, the Nexa data flows both ways. Why it matters? Well, when safety is Ryan's thing, it gets deprioritized the second production gets tight. When it's everyone's operating system, it gets protected. Give you a quick example. The manufacturing plant linked Nexus Reds to maintenance work orders automatically. Backlog hazards dropped 80%. Quality defects from rush work dropped too. One dashboard. Multiple wins. Let's get into the fourth ring. The metrics engine. Leading and lagging and financial return on investments. Numbers don't lie. And CFOs don't fund feelings. So the outer ring turns Nexus data into proof that safety drives profit. So what lives here in this ring? Leading indicators. Leading indicators first, right? The hazard fix rates, greater than 98%. Participation rate, greater than 70%. The radar average, greater than 90%. Lagging for context, TIR, DART, but never the only story. That's how it is, So a financial translation, cost of an incident avoided downtime saved, insurance reductions, productivity gains from fewer disruptions, and then you use your return of investment calculator. This wearable program costs $40K, right? But prevented two $250,000 claims, that's a 5,000% return. Why it matters. Leadership commits when they see dollars. I've watched budgets open like floodgates once the metric engine showed safety as the best profit lever in the building. There's an example. One client built a simple spreadsheet, time radar scores, to uptime. Green streaks equals 4 to 6% more throughput. No interruptions from incidents. The CFO teared up in the boardroom because they've been measuring the wrong things for over 20 years. So how did these 4 rings work together? Well, the rings aren't sequential. They reinforce each other. The core feeds daily data. Sustainability identifies the resource wins. The hub shares across departments. The metrics proves the value. More budget flows back to strengthen the core. Now you got to build them one at a time. Start with the core always. Add sustainability when the crew is ready. Push the hub when middle management buys in. Then you roll out the metrics engine. When leadership asks, how much is this saving us? You master the rings, and the SIM stops being a safety program. It becomes the way the entire organization wins. And if you're ready, we're going to talk about making this go live in 90 days. So I'll have a 90-day rollout playbook. There actually is this. I've already launched this on Amazon. This whole SSIM Nexus, it's there. So you've got the why, you've got the pillars, you've got the radar, and the rings. Now the part most programs screw up, actually getting it live without turning it into another flavor of the month that dies by spring. Now, this 90-day playbook is the exact sequence I've used with clients across construction, manufacturing, maritime, energy, chemical, and distribution. It's designed to deliver quick wins fast, enough to build momentum, but thorough enough to stick for years. You follow exactly for the first rollout. Pilot one site, one plant, one vessel. Once it's humming, then scale. Because you got to get the overall principles before you start. Start small, win big. Pilot on your highest risk or most receptive area. Nothing kills momentum like trying to boil the ocean, okay? Leadership eats last. Executives go first. They're the kickoff. Get those walks. That lunch rule. Crew watches who's serious, okay? You need to celebrate early and often. The first green radar day, donuts, what have you. The first red fix, same shift, shout out. The first 90 plus average week, you need to grill out. No extra meetings. Layer this into existing huddles and those toolbox talks and the pre-job briefs. So weeks 1 through 2, foundation and buy-in. Your goal, get leadership aligned and the baseline reality. Got to have it. Day 1 to 2, executive kickoff, 2 hours max. Walk leaders through, my chapters 1 through 4. Make it personal. Share a near miss story that hits home. You got to end with commitment. Every leader signs I will walk the floor and own the radar pledge. Day 3 to 7, current state radar, audit, print prototype, have those radar cards done. Have every shift score the 6 questions for yesterday. Honestly, no fluffing. Collect anonymously if needed. Average that first week. Expect low 60s to 70s. That's your baseline. Post it publicly. Here's where we are. Let's fix it. Day 8 to 14. Recruit your first champions. Target, depending on how many you got, 8 to 12 influencers. Those quiet leaders, not just the loud ones. One-on-one, invite, I need your help to make sure no one gets hurt on your watch. Give them the champion one-pager. That's a template that I have available. The first meeting, 30 minutes, coffee, no agenda except listening. Typical outcome, leadership realizes how much drift exists. And the champions, well, they feel valued. Momentum starts. It's getting to weeks 3 and 4, that daily rhythm live, right? The goal, to make that radar a habit. So you're going to print, distribute the limited Nexus cards, right? Double-sided, wallet size for pockets, larger for toolboxes if you want. But everyone gets one. You got to do the train the trainer, 2-hour sessions, leaders and champions only. Practice scoring real scenarios. Role play reds and the fixes. You're going to launch daily 5-minute huddles. Layer into existing, the stand-ups. What's going on with what we currently do. Plot yesterday's radar. That's going to be your accountability. Have a quick discussion. Whoever is assigned the fix of the owner or those reds. And then also run that 7-minute pre-task cycle. Go to work. Introduce the lunch rule. The first red equals leadership buys. You're going to watch commitment skyrocket. The typical outcome, scores jump from 10 to 15 points from baseline. Near miss reporting starts climbing. It's a good sign. Stuff is finally surfacing. Okay? Let's get into weeks 5 and 8. That engagement and the ownership. Okay? Your goal is to shift from safety guys thing to our thing. Okay? Launch your red tag authority company-wide. Anyone can red tag anything unsaved. The rule is red tag equals dead until fixed. No permission needed. Install the wall of heroes in a high traffic spot. Polaroids, print-offs, whatever. Stories of people who stopped the dumb stuff. And update it weekly. Do your first hazard hunt competition. Put teams compete for most finds or fixes. Small prizes. Turns that grumbling into gaming. And then plan the first Nexus 90. That Nexus 90 celebration schedule. It should be at the end of the week 12. If you're not quite there yet. The target pulls behavior. So that typical outcome, participation explodes, the reds drop, crew starts calling out leaders who skip walks. You know who you are. Weeks 9 through 12, that's the tech, that's the scale celebration. Your goal is to lock it in and prove the return of investment. So you're rolling out the tech, the highest risk area first, right? Mobile reporting apps, wearables, or sensors. Whatever fits your biggest pain. Train small, iterate fast. Install a big screen, dashboard, live radar. Put it in the break room, job trailer, cafeteria may have. Add trending arrows. Make it impossible to ignore. Run first full metrics review. Calculate those early wins. Your hazard fix rate. Your near miss increase. Your early incident drop. Downtime saved. Share it with the leadership and the crew. Now let's talk about that 90-day celebration. Even if the average is 85, 89, throw the party. Get the grill, the music, the t-shirts, I survived the first 90 days of Nexus, Announce the next 90-day target. Now, the typical results I've seen. Near miss reporting goes up by 300 to 800%. The hazard fix rate increases at 95% the same rate. Recordables go down 40 to 7%. Crew beginning to roll it out everywhere else. And then scaling beyond 90 days, once this pilot sings, got to replicate it. The new site and vessel, the new site, location, whatever. Send 2 champions and 1 leader from the pilot as trainers. That's how this works. Large organization, roll it by region, 90 days each. The playbook works because it's front-loaded with leadership skin in the game. and quick wins for the crew. If you skip this order, it'll flop. Now, you have the exact map. No more, where do we start? So, if you're ready for those tools that make it stupid easy to execute, I have 14 items that are ready to use. You don't need a consultant. You don't a 6-month project or $1 million software package to make the Nexus work. You don't. You need simple, stupid proof tools that fit in a pocket. You stick in a toolbox or you just live in your phone. So I'm telling you to steal this. This is the steal this section. This is your 5-finger discount right here for optimal safety. Everything here is battle tested, copy paste ready, and designed to be printed, laminated, and used tomorrow. No fluff, just the exact templates on hand clients on the day one. I want you to copy them verbatim, but tweak them to your slang, right? We all have our own business, wherever, our own talking points, or what we'd like to discuss, our own language, if you will. But just get these into people's hands. So the first one is that laminated Nexus radar card, that front to back business card or 4x6, fits in the pocket. The front, the 6 questions that you're going to read aloud in the huddle. Again, number 1, did readers show up and fix something today? 0 100. Number 2, did we look at today's risk with fresh eyes? Score 0 100. The third question, is everyone competent or paired with someone who is? Score 0 100. The fourth, did we talk with the crew, not at them? Score it 0 100. The fifth one, do we have the right tools working right now? Score it 0 100. And then 6, did we catch and kill at least one hazard today? 0 to 100. And then the back is that radar chart blank hexagon with the pillars label at each point, space to plot scores and date. Okay? And then the 7-minute risk annihilation script, that pre-task card. Print double-sided, 1 per crew. Side 1, the questions. Number 1, what's different today? Whether it be the weather, the staffing, the equipment, even the mood. Okay? Gotta understand that. The second question, what could kill or maim us on this task? List the ugly ones first. It's easy. Then the third question, what controls do we have in place? And be honest about the controls. And 4, what controls are missing or broken? Very good and easy to point out. The fifth question, who owns fixing it before we start? Name and time. And then the sixth question, verify it's fixed. And only then start work. Then the second side, a quick bow tie sketch blank space for threats. Top event, down the consequences, right? Then we got the safety champion 1-pager. Hand this to every new champion. Job title, guardian of not dying only. Guardian of not dying, but only give them 3 duties. So notice stuff that could hurt someone, help fix it, or escalate it fast. Brag about fixes so others copy. There's no extra meetings. There's no extra paperwork. Just own your area. The fourth, a stop work authority card, wallet sized, with the font. I stopped the job, space for name, the date, the reason, the backside said, thank you, you just saved someone. Report that champion to the Walls of Heroes for a photo and story. And then 5, the Wall of Heroes tracking form. 1 sheet by the board, columns, the date, the name, what they stopped, the outcome, photo taken. Some people don't want their photo, but hey, it works. Then 6, that red tag template that I talked about. That do not operate, hazard, what it is, field description, by who, the date fixed, all that stuff. And that 7 is that daily scorecard, the shift log, right? Put it in the table format, date, shift, your radar average, that's at your percentage, your reds list, your fix completed, the shout out, okay? You got to have that. I'll put all examples, or actually you'll just go to where my book is. because it's all in the book. It's where you're going to get all the different columns, the hours, in a form all ready to go, right? But that 72-hour after action review form is going to be needed, so because you need those questions that you're going to ask. What almost bit us, why did it almost happen? One thing that we can do to change tomorrow, and then you need to have that owner date, right? And then the leadership gimbal walks. That's my number 10, right? It is, just a pocket card and ask what's dumb today. So fix one thing on the spot, and it's that scored radar meet independently. It's a leadership, right? So it's independent from the crew. And then you got to at least talk to at least 3 crew members. It's one of those things. And then I have that hazard hunt score sheet. Now this is that team competition tracker, the team name, maybe it's the Fab Shop versus, whatever shop, whatever maybe, you know what I'm talking about. But you get to show where everybody's excelling at in the 6 axis. And one thing that I'd like to talk about sometimes is the that monthly Nexus Pulse survey that I may have talk about a lot on this. But it asks questions like, do you believe leadership is serious about the Nexus? Score it 1 to 5. Do you feel safe speaking up? You're going to score it 1 to 5. And then what one thing would make the Nexus better? Fill in the blank. Then you're going to have things like the crisis ops 5-minute meeting response card. Again, it's going to be a laminated, posted at every muster point. It's a count for every human. Kill the source, the energy. Contain the mess. Call for help. And then, hero later. Survive first. So those 14 tools, kind of went through them really, really quick. I'll have them linked somewhere. Print them out. Hand them out. And within a week, the Nexus will feel like it's always been there. I've watched crews fight over who gets to fill out the wall of heroes form. And that's when you know it's working. So I can give you a couple of proofs that it works. I'll give you 9 battle-tested case studies. Words are cheap. Results aren't. So these are 9 real rollouts I've either led or I've gotten to watch up close. Now, the names, minor details redacted or needed, but the numbers here are straight up from the client reports, the OSHA logs, the insurance summaries. These aren't cherry-picked outliers. These are typical when you follow the playbook. Read them for proof. Steal from them for ideas. And then go make your own and be number 10 and let me know. All right. So there's a Midwest metal fabrication shop, about 300 employees. Now the starting point, I'm going to talk TIR, hovered about 9.2 for years. Chronic ergonomic and cut hazards. Now the rollout, 90-day pilot on 2 lines. Then the full plant. So the key moves, champion zone hazard hunts. Leadership lunch rule in full effect. Radar cards in every toolbox. Results after 18 months, that recordable rate dropped 78% down to 2.1. 0 lost time in final 14 months. And the union president, former skeptic, he bought me dinner. He called the Nexus the next thing best since they fixed that coffee machine in the break room, right? But Gulf Coast Chemical Plant, 800 employees. Their starting point was a solid program on paper, but hurricanes exposed gaps. So the rollout, pre-storm prep using Nexus for hazard elimination. Key moves, 4,000 red tags exactly, issued and closed in 30 days, pre-landfall. Radar audits every shift during ride-outs. The results, rode out Category 4 hurricane with ride-out crew of 28. 0 injuries, 0 releases. Back making product 11 days later, while neighbors pumped water. So the third Out of 9. Automotive parts supplier, 220 employees. Starting point, culture stuck in compliance mode. Near misses rarely reported. So here was the rollout. The Champions program. They did that first, then radar. The key moves, temp worker climbed inside unguarded machine to unclear jam. 3, Champions saw it on camera, sprint across the plant, stopped him with seconds to spare. Results, that single save paid for the entire program forever. The temp became the loudest champion. Near miss reporting went from 40 a year to 1,400. About an oil refinery, 1,200 employees. Here's their starting point: chronic slips and falls in harsh conditions. Here's the rollout: the fatigue algorithm and wearables on night shifts. Here's the key moves: predictive scoring, flagged high risk days, and high force rotations and breaks. Result: prevented 19 high potential falls in first year. Their severe risk days down by 84%. So my 5th example, food processing plant, 380 employees. Their starting point, high powered industrial incidents. Skeptical crew, rollout. The add-on buttons tied to Nexus, in the engagement pillar. Their key moves were operator who pulled the button most got a grill named after him, and a bonus. Results: one line ran 413 days without reportable. That saved 1.4 million in comp and overtime. So let's start with the 6th one: high-rise construction project, 140-foot conveyor install. Right. Starting point: rush schedule, windy conditions. So we rolled out the 7-minute pre-task cycle, made it mandatory. Key moves: crew flagged underrated anchorage, refused to start despite superintendent pressure. That was delayed 4 hours. Upgraded the rigging though. Results: 2 days later, 42-mile-per-hour gusts hit. Old anchorage would have failed. That was 3 lives saved. That foreman still has that red tag laminated on his desk. So, steel mill, old school, 900 employees. The starting point: guardrails constantly damaged by cranes. They roll out a $38 impact sensors tied to each pillar. So the key moves here: the alerts texted supervisors, fixed everyone within 24 hours. Results: the first month had 127 alerts, and then month 6, 3. Year 2, 0. 0 damaged guardrails, 0 related injuries. So the 8th example, a national distribution center network, 12 sites, right? Their starting point was forklift and pedestrian contacts, averaging 11 a year. Rollout: geofencing, wearables, rolled site by site. Their key moves: auto kill on forklifts and pedestrian zones. Results: 0 contacts in 2 years. Insurance carrier sent actual flowers. So the 9th one, again, you're going to be the 10th, right? Aviation maintenance, repair, and overhaul, 10 hangars. Their starting point: ergonomic injuries plaguing techs. So here's the rollouts: wearables and micro learning on posture. Here's their key moves: buzz alert for bad bends, peer verification before heavy lifts. Results: ergonomic injuries down 68%, 0 strikes or grievances over safety in 3 years. So these 9 span manufacturing, chemical, construction, food, energy, distribution, aviation. Different sizes, different risks, the same playbook. The common thread: they stopped hoping and started commanding. When the radar went green, incidents went away, and the crew took ownership. It's your turn. Make my case study number 10 yours. Let's talk about how we're going to sustain the Nexus for years, not months, because most safety programs flare bright for 90 days, then fade into posters and forgotten binders. Been there that so many times. Now, the Nexus isn't most programs. Done right, it becomes the way you operate forever. Sustaining isn't about heroic effort. It's about building small habits, checks, and celebrations that keep the radar green long after the launch party confetti is gone. Okay? Now, here's exactly how to do it. Straight from clients who've kept their Nexus humming for many years without burnout. You gotta make the radar non negotiable. Like brushing your teeth. Non negotiable. Daily rhythm, gotta be locked in. Keep the 5-minute huddle sacred. If production pressures to cut it out, leadership pushes back harder. One plant made it the first agenda item at every shift change. Never skipped it in 2 years. Doing excellent. Rotate ownership. Every quarter, new champions and supervisors take the lead on running the huddles. Keeps it fresh and spreads the muscle memory. Also, you need lo-fi, not hi-fi, backups. When the app crashes or you're offshore, no signal, laminated cards still work. Never let tech be an excuse. Okay. The second thing you do is those monthly pulse checks, the 3 questions, anonymous. Run this simple survey every 30 days. Number 1, do you believe leadership is serious about the Nexus? Scale it 1 to 5. Number 2, do you feel safe speaking up about risk? Again, rank 1 to 5. And the third, what one thing would make the Nexus better right now? If an average is below 4.0 on any question, immediate leadership offsite to fix the root cause. One client caught leadership drift early this way. The scores dipped to 3.8. They reset walks and that lunch rule back to 4.7 in 2 months. Do the annual refresh. Keep it short and fun. 2 hours max. Maybe once a year, half a day session for everyone. Celebrate wins. That big screen slideshow, wall of heroes. Just have it. The quick refresher on radar scoring and real scenarios. Crew-led breakout. What's working, what's dumb. Okay? In with food and new swag. Make some Nexus hats, mugs. I keep the radar green. No death by PowerPoint. Make it something people look forward to. Champion succession. Replace yourself every quarter. You gotta onboard 2 to 4 new champions every 3 months. Outgoing champions. Figure out to train the incoming. Peer to peer. No safety department bottleneck there. Retiring champions, get a plaque and a story on the wall. Simple. This keeps fresh eyes and prevents burnout. One maritime fleet has rotated 60% of champions in 5 years, and their program's stronger more than ever. Escalation when scores dip. Okay? That yellow streak, the 85 to 89 for 2 weeks, leadership needs to double their floor time. If red appears after 30 green days, mandatory root cause session within 24 hours. You gotta be ahead of this. Okay? Average below 85 for a month, full reboot. Back to the 90-day playbook basics, okay? Don't wait for incidents to tell you it's slipping. The radar tells you first. Now, the ultimate sustainer is epic celebrations. If you have a 90 plus average for 30 days, let the crew pick the lunch or the music for the week. Okay? 90 plus for 90 days, that's got to be a company-wide party. The grill, a live band, t-shirts. Celebrate this, okay? 95 plus for a year, you got to have something legendary. Family day at a ball game, bonuses, paid time off, paid days off, because they earned them. I've seen a distribution center hit 2 straight years at 95%. They shut the plant for a day, rented a water park, invited family. It cost $80,000, right? saved millions in incidents and turnover. Best investment ever, right? The seventh thing you can do. Leadership's forever role. Sustaining starts at the top forever. New executives get Nexus immersion on day one and continue that learning. Safety KPI stay on every scorecard, no exception. When a leader leaves, their successor inherits the lunch rule debt. Period. One CEO told me after a few years, this Nexus is the only thing I never have to worry about anymore because it runs itself. Because we never let it stop running. You do those 7 things, and the Nexus won't just survive. It'll become your unfair advantage. The reason people stay. The reason regulators praise you. And competitors are going to wonder how you keep winning without all the drama. This is the playbook. Only thing left for you to do is to live it. So I'll give you a quick gut punch, because you just heard my full playbook. Not another corporate binder destined for the shelf. Not another consultant slide deck full of theory and zero traction. This is a system built from sweat, near misses, and too many moments where good people almost didn't make it home. The SSIM Nexus isn't complicated. It's not expensive. It doesn't require perfect humans or unlimited budgets. It requires one thing: the decision to stop accepting preventable pain as the cost of doing business. When you make that decision and you commit to the daily radar, the hard conversations, the lunch rule, those celebrations, and the promise that no production number is worth a human body, something shifts. The crew stops waiting for safety to be done to them and starts owning it. Leadership stops delegating it and starts living it. Near misses turn into stories instead of scars. And the radar? It stops being a card in a pocket and becomes the heartbeat of everything that you do. I've watched it happen in the grittiest fab shops, on wind-whipped construction sites, in sweltering refineries, even on rolling decks in the middle of the ocean. I've watched skeptics become champions. I've watched recordables vanish. I've watched families keep their dads, moms, brothers, sisters whole. That's the only scorecard that matters. So here's my ask. Don't finish this video and think, nice ideas. Pick one of the things. Print one radar card. Run one huddle tomorrow. Buy one lunch when a red shows up. Start there. The rest will follow. Because your people aren't waiting for another program. They're waiting for someone to finally mean it. Mean it. Keep the radar green. Keep them whole. If you watch it, I'm proud of you already. I'm Rinehart. EHS Concepts, The Ways of Safety, founder. I'm just some sailor, who got tired of preventable pain. And it speaks volumes of what we need to do next. Old guard needs to go away. Old and busted, bye. The new hotness is here. And I implore you to reach out. Links will be below. Thank you for watching.